Shalom, my name is Adam Wasser from Brooklyn, New York, on the idea of economic change and revolution in the state of Israel today. Last year, I wanted to make Aliyah. I was working on making Aliyah, moving to Israel. Unfortunately, because of my father being sick and economic reasons, I was unable to make Aliyah. But God willing, one day I will be able to. Now, not making Aliyah and being in New York doesn't mean that I don't pay attention to what's going on in Israel today. In fact, I pay much attention to what is going on in Israel. I see a lot of progress happening in Israel. I see a lot of success happening in Israel. But at the same time, a lot of attention is being drawn towards the fact that there is an economic downslide for the poor and for the middle class of Israel. The wealthier of Israel are getting wealthier and the poorer are getting poorer. In fact, the bridge between the poor and the middle class and the wealthy is huge. Israel is one of the nations that the bridge between how many people are poor by the side of how few people are rich is unbelievable. Israel today continues on growing in progress, but very few people are getting very wealthy off of this idea, and more people are getting poorer. Today, Israel goes through very social, economic issues with helping the poor and paying teachers to teach and dealing with social issues. And a lot of these problems are not being dealt with, and a lot of people are protesting, as they have been for many years in Israel. But it's getting deeper. It's getting into the fact where the government is siding with the wealthy and pushing the poor aside. You know, you have today, autism in Israel, unfortunately, has increased double to what it was 10 years ago. And the government doesn't want to pay to help social issues of helping children that have autism. They're pushing it away. Now, Israel has one of the best healthcare systems in the world, but yet this healthcare system is very expensive for people, and it is not what it should be to the standards of what the state can afford, because in fact the state is making a lot of money. Israel is not a poor nation, but yet how it throws out its money and where it puts its money is very unbalanced. A lot of the money that Israel is making is not going to the people that build the country, to the poor and working class. There are today 5 families in Israel that supposedly control Israel. I can't tell you these names, but if you look it up, they have a lot of influence in Israel. And it's very sad that Israel has become like kind of a mafioso country where the rich are controlling everything of the nation. You know, Israel, we have a so-called peace process with the Palestinians. Well, why is that? That's because of economic reasons. That's because the West wants us to make peace with the Palestinians because of economic, and we push towards trying to make peace with the Palestinians because we need that economic support. We need to do business with them. So we struggle and we deal with terrorism and persecution and humiliation because of economic reasons. In fact, Israel wants peace with the Arab world, but really, what is this peace for? Is it for our security? Is it for our future? No, it's for economic reasons, because we know that we'll never really have peace with them until they're totally subdued. And they will always know this, and they will always build up their arms for one day to destroy us. So they make peace with us one day in order to destroy us another day. This is all about economics. Israel is all about economics. I love the state of Israel. I love the Jewish people. But I will not deny the fact that Israel today is run by economics. God bless the fact that God gave us the ability to make money. The Jewish people, when you look around the world, are very economically successful. But at the same time, tzedakah, charity, is a major part of the Jewish world, because there are so many Jewish people that do not have money and are very poor. And we need tzedakah in order to have Jewish survival. And yet in Israel today, tzedakah is not what it should be, especially by the government, because the government is supporting the wealthy of the nation, and they are pushing forward with more power to the wealthy and pushing down the poor and allowing them to fall more in the hands of living off as charity, tzedakah, than uplifting them to another future of better future. I encourage the people of Israel. I am not with you, unfortunately, but I stand with you in heart and soul. There must be a revolution. There must be a change. It's not enough to just protest and put signs up in front of the Knesset. We must force the government to change. We must force social issues and social justice onto the government and make a change in Israel. It is not enough to throw a sign in front of the Knesset and say we need change. We must have a revolution, not through killing or anything of that sort, but it must be forceful. The Israeli government is a good government, but it is shadowed in the fact that it has gone towards economic ideas and against social issues. The ideas of Ben-Gurion, Theodor Herzl, Golda Meir, and so forth, these socialists, their ideas were grand and beautiful and great. I'm not saying we have to go back to them. I am a socialist. I'm not saying we have to go back to these socialist issues, which I agree with. But there has to be a blending of the two. There has to be a balance. In any nation, there must be a balance. There must be a social and economic balance. If there is not a balance, then a nation will fall. America, the United States of America, has a social balance, even though many people wish to change that, but that balance has kept this nation united and together. Israel must do the same and must push towards this, even if it means a revolution. God bless you all, and God bless the state of Israel. Amen.